I have been searching for months trying to figure out what it is my wife and I saw. This happened around Labor Day, 2014, while camping in the eastern Sierras in the Mono Village area. I have been coming to the same area to camp and fish for over 30 years. The Twin Lakes Resort in Bridgeport, California, right on the California-Nevada border, about an hour north of Mono Lake. My parents brought me when I was a kid and now I bring my family every year, so I'm very familiar with the wildlife. I've seen mountain lions, Sierra moose, bald eagles, mountain goats, osprey, king snakes, the list goes on. One morning, my wife and I were headed to the creek for some daybreak fishing. The time must have been close to 5:30 a.m. and it was still very dark out with a slight fog. This trip is about a quarter mile from cabin to creek, and it's always full of nocturnal animals headed home after raiding the local campgrounds. Like I'd done 100 times before, I kept an eye out, slowing down occasionally to hit the high beams and illuminate the beasts with their reflective eyes. This time my lights caught something crossing the road that did not have reflective nocturnal eyes, so I slowed down immediately and tried my best to identify what it was. It was hard because the thing was moving very low, its belly just inches from touching the ground. It appeared to be very pale, or white, so I thought it was a goat or sheep. Well, when my high beams hit this thing, it turned its long neck and glared at us and almost shook its head as if we pissed it off and didn't want to be seen at all. At first, it had been crossing the street diagonally headed our way, but then it turned, heading in our direction. My wife had seen it from the start, and I wanted to make sure she was seeing and observing the same thing that I was. I asked her, "What is that?" Now the first thing that I couldn't understand, besides the way it was crawling so low to the ground, was that the legs didn't look right. Its knees seemed to be backwards, but it was running on them. Because it was moving so fast, I thought maybe it was an escaped sheep or goat that had broken knees and was running for its life. As it came closer and closer towards us, I could hardly take my eyes off its freaky legs. I'm still to this day puzzled by how they were working. I haven't ever seen any mammal move that way. The closest thing I could liken it to would be a crab or an insect. The front and back legs moved together in unison. There was no bounce or gallop to the creature's movement. Its torso, which was about 4 feet long, stayed entirely straight, low to the ground, as its legs, arms did all the work. To me it looked like a puppet moved along on marionette strings. So unreal, like one of H.R. Geiger's alien creatures when they're shown climbing around super fast with only their arms and legs moving. When my wife finally responded to my question, all she said was, "What the hell?" We saw it from maybe 50 yards away to about 20 yards. You could see that it had no fur at all, just pale, sinewy skin stretched over long, skinny, well-defined limbs. What I thought at first were broken knees were actually very long, skinny fingers, or claws, about a foot long or more. The torso was maybe the size of a large goat's, but it also had broad shoulders, very human. It made me think that possibly this thing normally walks upright. In fact, that's what my wife kept pointing out afterwards to me. The shoulders made it look human. All this was freaky, but we both stared intensely, trying to figure out what it was. As it got closer, its face became more and more defined. At first I could tell that the face and head didn't make sense, but I thought, well, it looks strange now, but when you get face to face you'll see a familiar goat snout, or canine nose, or jackrabbit face. But no. The nose I was looking for was not there. It was just a flat opening with 2 nose holes high up on the face. No ears. Just small holes on the side of its head. Its brow ridge was very pronounced, but the skull was smaller than a human's, more like the size of a chimp's. However, it had a large, protruding chin. But this part one totally don't get at all. From a distance, although they reflected no light, I had seen the creature's large eye sockets. As it came nearer and nearer I saw the color red in them. Not like a light that was glowing, but like many veins, or like a red membrane that was covering the sockets. Now this blew me away. I thought, how is this thing turning its head to glare at me with no eyes? Was it a ghost? But as it passed us and I came to a complete stop, I saw it zip into the chaparral and kick up dust. This thing had been flesh and blood at least for the 15 to 20 seconds that we observed it. I might add there was no smell or anything else odd that we noticed. I should have taken pictures of the tracks but did not think to do it because I was very puzzled and thought maybe we had witnessed a ghost because of how unreal it appeared. I was also with my family, and I didn't want to put them in any danger. If I had been alone, I would have stepped out onto the trail to investigate. What this thing was doing so close to a campground puzzles me. My wife said that his thing seemed intelligent to her. She got the sense that it was mad at us for discovering it. The mouth was closed, and it had tightly closed lips that almost looked like a large smile. I didn't see any teeth, but its skull was that of a predator's, not a prey animal. The eye sockets were positioned on the front, not the sides. I have seen a great many extraordinary things in my life, and I consider myself a great eyewitness. I don't jump to conclusions. I just observe, make notes, and evaluate later. My wife was a bigger skeptic than me. Her upbringing exposed her early on to how harsh reality can be, and she had no room for any flights of imagination. Well, now she's a believer, and she's afraid to this day of what is walking around those Sierra Nevada mountains.